I'm Jamie Dimon. I'm 68 years old. I've been running JPMorgan Chase for 18 years, and I'm at the helm of one of the world's most renowned banks. But here's what nobody talks about. I made 3 critical mistakes that nearly destroyed me. One of these mistakes almost ended my career. Another cost billions of dollars. The third led to laws that reshaped how banks operate. And today, I'm going to tell you about them, because the real story of success isn't about the brilliant things you do. It's about how you survive the terrible mistakes you make. Because on Wall Street, not losing your job is harder than getting one. Being at the top of the financial world means constantly being in the crosshairs. You're trying to stay standing while the next crisis rounds the corner, while media scrutinizes your every move, while politicians prepare to attack you. And I've been playing this game for 50 years. I started as an assistant to Sandy Weil. I witnessed the merger of Citicorp and Travelers Group. I saw the birth of Citigroup in 1998. I merged Bank One with JPMorgan. During the 2008 crisis, I bought Washington Mutual. I saved Bear Stearns. And every time, behind every major move was the same thing: risk management. Because in banking, it's not the money you make that keeps you alive. It's the money you don't lose. Today, I'm going to give you 5 golden rules I learned in banking. These aren't just for finance professionals. These apply to anyone who wants to manage their own finances. Because you can use these rules in your personal financial management too. And if you follow these rules, you'll never have money problems for the rest of your life. But first, I need to tell you about those 3 mistakes. Because these mistakes are the only way you'll understand why these rules are so important. The first mistake happened in 2004. I was running Bank One at the time. We had just completed our merger with JPMorgan, and I was about to become CEO of the combined entity. Everything was going perfectly, too perfectly. And that should have been my first warning. We had been growing aggressively, acquiring smaller banks, expanding our credit card business, increasing our loan portfolio. The numbers looked fantastic. Profits were up quarter after quarter. Shareholders were happy. The board loved me, and I started believing my own hype. Here's the thing about banking. When everything's going well, that's exactly when you should be most worried. But I got comfortable. I stopped questioning our underwriting standards. I stopped challenging our risk assessment models. I trusted the systems instead of verifying them myself. And in banking, trust but don't verify is a recipe for disaster. We had built what we thought was a sophisticated risk management system, computer models that could predict default rates, algorithms that assessed credit risk, mathematical formulas that supposedly eliminated human error. But what these models couldn't predict was a fundamental shift in the housing market. What they couldn't account for was the unprecedented level of speculation in real estate. What they missed was the massive bubble forming right under our noses. But this wasn't the moment that defined me. The second mistake was far more devastating. It was 2012, and JPMorgan Chase was riding high. We had not only survived the 2008 financial crisis, we had thrived. While other banks were failing, we were growing. While others were getting bailed out, we were buying distressed assets. While others were laying off thousands, we were hiring. I had become Wall Street's golden boy. The media called me America's least hated banker. Time magazine put me on their cover. Politicians sought my advice. I was invited to every major economic summit, and once again, I got too comfortable. That's when the London whale incident happened. Bruno Ixel, a trader in our London office, was making massive bets on corporate credit derivatives, positions so large that other traders nicknamed him the whale because his trades moved entire markets. The trades were complex: synthetic credit instruments, derivatives of derivatives, financial products so complicated that even experienced traders struggled to understand them. But they were making money. Lots of money. And in the short term, that's all anyone cared about. Here's what I should have done. I should have personally reviewed every position over $100 million. I should have questioned why one trader was generating so much profit. I should have demanded simple explanations for complex positions. Instead, I trusted the London office. I trusted the risk management systems. I trusted the models that said everything was fine. And that trust cost us $6.2 billion. When the position started losing money, Bruno tried to double down. He made bigger bets to cover the losses, classic gambling behavior. But these weren't small bets anymore. These were bets that could sink the entire bank. When I finally found out the full scope of what was happening, I had a choice. I could try to hide it, minimize it, spin it. Many CEOs would have. Instead, I did something that shocked Wall Street. I told the truth. I called it exactly what it was: egregious, self-inflicted, and totally avoidable. I testified before Congress. I apologized publicly. I fired the people responsible. And I implemented new controls that made sure it could never happen again. What happened next changed how the world saw me. The third mistake was different. It wasn't about money or risk management. It was about understanding power. It was 2016, and Donald Trump had just won the presidency. Corporate leaders across America were deciding how to position themselves with the new administration. Some chose silence, others chose resistance. I chose engagement. I agreed to serve on Trump's Business Advisory Council. I believed that having a seat at the table was better than standing on the sidelines. I thought I could influence policy in a positive direction. I thought I could bridge the gap between Wall Street and Main Street. But this assumption was wrong. But this wasn't the moment that defined me. The second mistake was far more devastating. It was 2012, and JPMorgan Chase was riding high. We had not only survived the 2008 financial crisis, we had thrived. While other banks were failing, we were growing. While others were getting bailed out, we were buying distressed assets. While others were laying off thousands, we were hiring. I had become Wall Street's golden boy. The media called me America's least hated banker. Time magazine put me on their cover. Politicians sought my advice. I was invited to every major economic summit, and once again, I got too comfortable. That's when the London whale incident happened. Bruno Ixil, a trader in our London office, was making massive bets on corporate credit derivatives, positions so large that other traders nicknamed him the whale because his trades moved entire markets. The trades were complex: synthetic credit instruments, derivatives of derivatives, financial products so complicated that even experienced traders struggled to understand them. But they were making money. Lots of money. And in the short term, that's all anyone cared about. Here's what I should have done. I should have personally reviewed every position over $100 million. I should have questioned why one trader was generating so much profit. I should have demanded simple explanations for complex positions. Instead, I trusted the London office. I trusted the risk management systems. I trusted the models that said everything was fine. And that trust cost us $6.2 billion. When the position started losing money, Bruno tried to double down. He made bigger bets to cover the losses, classic gambling behavior. But these weren't small bets anymore. These were bets that could sink the entire bank. When I finally found out the full scope of what was happening, I had a choice. I could try to hide it, minimize it, spin it. Many CEOs would have. Instead, I did something that shocked Wall Street. I told the truth. I called it exactly what it was: egregious, self-inflicted, and totally avoidable. I testified before Congress. I apologized publicly. I fired the people responsible. And I implemented new controls that made sure it could never happen again. What happened next changed how the world saw me. The third mistake was different. It wasn't about money or risk management. It was about understanding power. It was 2016, and Donald Trump had just won the presidency. Corporate leaders across America were deciding how to position themselves with the new administration. Some chose silence, others chose resistance. I chose engagement. I agreed to serve on Trump's Business Advisory Council. I believed that having a seat at the table was better than standing on the sidelines. I thought I could influence policy in a positive direction. I thought I could bridge the gap between Wall Street and Main Street. But this assumption was wrong. Rule number 2, when you're making money, that's when you're in the most danger. This is counterintuitive. Most people think the dangerous times are when you're losing money. Wrong. The most dangerous time is when everything's going perfectly. Because that's when you stop being careful. That's when you start taking bigger risks. That's when you believe you can't fail. In banking, we call this reaching for yield. When times are good, banks make riskier loans to maintain profit growth. Individuals do the same thing. When the stock market is booming, they buy more aggressive investments. When real estate is hot, they take on more debt. When their income is growing, they increase their lifestyle expenses. Both of my biggest mistakes happened when JPMorgan was performing exceptionally well. We were making record profits, our stock was at all-time highs, and I got overconfident. That overconfidence led to catastrophic errors. Here's what I learned. Success is not the absence of problems. Success is having the discipline to stick to proven principles even when things are going well, even when you're tempted to take shortcuts, even when everyone else is taking bigger risks and making more money in the short term. Today, when JPMorgan has a great quarter, I become more conservative, not less. When our profits are up, I increase our capital reserves. When our stock is flying high, I warn investors about potential risks. This drives some people crazy. They want me to be more aggressive when times are good, but that's exactly backwards. You should be most aggressive when times are bad and assets are cheap. You should be most conservative when times are good and assets are expensive. Apply this to your personal life. When you get a raise, don't immediately increase your lifestyle. When your investments are doing well, don't put more money into risky assets. When your business is booming, increase your emergency fund. Success should make you more careful, not more reckless. Rule number 3. Your reputation is the only thing that matters, and you can lose it in 24 hours. I learned this the hard way with the Trump Advisory Council. For 40 years, I had built a reputation as a competent, apolitical banker. I was respected by Republicans and Democrats. I was trusted by regulators and customers, and I nearly destroyed all of that with one decision. Here's the truth about reputation. It takes decades to build and minutes to destroy. And once it's damaged, it may never fully recover. In our digital age, this is more dangerous than ever. Every decision you make is potentially public. Every mistake is potentially permanent. Every association is potentially toxic. I had to learn this lesson while running one of the world's largest banks. You need to learn it before it costs you everything. Here's how you protect your reputation. Never do anything you wouldn't want on the front page of the newspaper. Never associate with people whose values don't align with yours. Never make decisions based on short-term gains that could have long-term reputation costs. And when you do make a mistake, own it immediately. Don't spin, don't deflect, don't blame others. Apologize, fix the problem, and move on. The cover-up is always worse than the crime. Rule number 4. Cash is king, but leverage is the devil. This might be the most important rule for personal finance. Cash gives you options. Debt takes them away. Cash lets you survive crises. Debt amplifies them. Cash allows you to take advantage of opportunities. Debt forces you to pass them up. During the 2008 financial crisis, JPMorgan survived and thrived for one reason. We had more cash and less leverage than our competitors. When Lehman Brothers collapsed, when Bear Stearns failed, when Washington Mutual went bankrupt, we were there to buy their assets at fire sale prices. Not because we were smarter, because we were more conservative, because we had maintained higher capital ratios, because we hadn't leveraged ourselves to the maximum. Meanwhile, brilliant people at brilliant institutions lost everything because they had too much debt and not enough cash when the crisis hit. Apply this to your personal finances. Always maintain at least 6 months of expenses in cash. Never borrow money to invest. Pay off high-interest debt before investing in anything. Keep your total debt payments below 30% of your income. Having cash means having freedom. Having debt means being a slave to your payments. Rule number 5. The only way to win the long-term game is to survive the short-term game. This is the hardest lesson because it requires patience in a world that rewards quick results. Every quarter, investors want to know why our profits weren't higher. Every year, shareholders ask why we're not taking more risks. Every boom cycle, critics ask why we're not growing faster, and my answer is always the same. Because our job is to be here in 50 years, not to have the best quarter this year, not to have the highest stock price this month, to build an institution that survives and thrives through multiple economic cycles. That means making boring decisions. That means saying no to profitable opportunities that are too risky. That means maintaining higher capital reserves than required. That means growing slower than we could. And that's exactly what you should do with your personal finances. Don't optimize for next month. Optimize for the next 30 years. Don't chase the highest returns. Chase sustainable returns. Don't try to time markets. Build systems that work in any market. The goal isn't to get rich quick. The goal is to get rich slow and stay rich forever. But let me tell you something that might shock you. These 5 rules I just shared with you, they're not the complete picture. They're the foundation. But there are 3 more advanced principles that separate the truly wealthy from everyone else. Principles that I learned the hard way over 5 decades in finance. Principles that most people never discover because they're too busy chasing quick wins and hot tips. Always bet on human nature, never against it. This might be the most counterintuitive investment advice you'll ever hear. Most people try to fight human nature. They try to be rational when everyone else is emotional. They try to buy when everyone is selling and sell when everyone is buying. That's not wrong, but it's incomplete. The real money isn't made fighting human nature. The real money is made understanding it and positioning yourself accordingly. Here's what I mean. People will always want convenience over cost. That's why companies like Amazon and Apple dominate. They make life easier, even if it costs more. People will always choose immediate gratification over delayed rewards. That's why credit card companies and payday lenders are so profitable. It's also why companies that help people save money automatically do so well. People will always follow the crowd, especially during extreme emotions. That's why bubbles form and crashes happen. And that's why contrarian investing works, but only if you understand the psychology behind the crowds. During the 2008 crisis, I wasn't just buying distressed assets because they were cheap. I was buying them because I understood that fear was driving prices below their true value. I knew that eventually, greed would return and drive them back up. I wasn't betting against human emotions. I was betting on them following their predictable patterns. In your personal finances, this means invest in companies that make people's lives easier, not harder. Understand that most people will always choose convenience over savings. Position yourself to benefit from these predictable behaviors instead of fighting them. Information is worthless. Judgment is priceless. In today's world, everyone has access to the same information. Bloomberg terminals, financial news, earnings reports, analyst recommendations. Everything is available instantly to anyone with an internet connection. So why do some people get rich while others stay poor, even with access to the same data? Because information isn't the advantage. Judgment is. The ability to process information correctly, to separate signal from noise, to understand what matters and what doesn't, to see patterns that others miss, to make decisions under uncertainty. Let me give you an example. In 2007, everyone had access to the same data about subprime mortgages. The information was public. Rating agencies were publishing reports. Banks were disclosing their exposure. Financial media was covering the story. Yet most people missed the crisis completely. Why? Because they had information but lacked judgment. They couldn't process the information correctly. They couldn't see the patterns. They couldn't connect the dots. Meanwhile, a few people like Michael Burry saw the same information and bet against the entire housing market. Same data, different judgment, vastly different outcomes. Here's how you develop better judgment. Question everything, especially when everyone agrees. The consensus is usually wrong at turning points. Look for what's not being said, not what's being shouted. The most important information is often in the footnotes, not the headlines. Study history. The same patterns repeat over and over. Human nature doesn't change. Only the context does. Test your assumptions with small bets before making big ones. Practice making decisions with incomplete information. That's the only kind of information you'll ever have. The third advanced principle: power compounds faster than money. This is something most people never understand. They think wealth is just about accumulating money. It's not. It's about accumulating influence, relationships, and strategic positions. Money is just a tool. Power is the ability to deploy that tool effectively. Here's what I mean. When JPMorgan acquired Bear Stearns during the 2008 crisis, we didn't just buy their assets. We bought their relationships, their market position, their regulatory standing. That acquisition gave us power that was worth far more than the purchase price. When we hired top talent from failed competitors, we weren't just buying their skills. We were buying their knowledge, their contacts, their reputation. That knowledge compounded over time into strategic advantages that money alone can't buy. In your personal finances, this means build relationships, not just portfolios. Your network determines your net worth more than any investment strategy. Develop skills that give you leverage, not just income. The ability to create value is more important than the ability to save money. Position yourself strategically in growing industries and markets. Being in the right place at the right time isn't luck, it's preparation. Understand that reputation and trust are your most valuable assets. They take years to build and can generate returns for decades. Let me tell you about a decision I made in 1999 that illustrates this principle. Sandy Weil offered me the chance to become his successor as CEO of Citigroup. It was the biggest bank in the world at the time. The salary was enormous. The prestige was unmatched. Everyone expected me to take it. I said no. Why? Because I could see that Citigroup was becoming too complex, too risky, too political. I could see that the culture was shifting away from the principles I believed in. Instead, I took a job running Bank One, a much smaller regional bank based in Chicago. Lower salary, less prestige, more work. Everyone thought I was crazy. But here's what I understood that others didn't. Power isn't about the size of your title or the size of your paycheck. It's about having the freedom to make decisions based on your principles. It's about building something sustainable. It's about positioning yourself for the long term. At Bank One, I had complete autonomy. I could implement my vision without interference. I could build the kind of culture I believed in. I could make the tough decisions that needed to be made. And when JPMorgan wanted to acquire Bank One in 2004, I negotiated not just a sale price, but a succession plan. I positioned myself to become CEO of the combined entity. I turned a smaller role into the biggest job on Wall Street. That's the power of strategic thinking. That's the power of playing the long game. That's the power of understanding that today's decisions compound into tomorrow's opportunities. These 8 principles, 5 basic rules, plus 3 advanced principles, have guided my entire career. They've helped me survive 3 financial crises, multiple recessions, and countless market upheavals. They've helped JPMorgan become the most valuable bank in the world. They can help you build lasting wealth and success too. But here's the thing nobody wants to hear. Following these principles is hard. They require discipline when everyone else is being reckless. They require patience when everyone else wants quick results. They require thinking independently when everyone else is following the crowd. They require making boring decisions when exciting opportunities are everywhere. Most people won't do this. They'll read these principles, nod along, and then go back to chasing hot stocks and get-rich-quick schemes. They'll continue making emotional decisions with their money. They'll continue trusting systems they don't understand. They'll continue living paycheck to paycheck even as their income grows. Don't be most people. The financial world is designed to transfer money from the impatient to the patient, from the emotional to the rational, from the uninformed to the informed, from the reckless to the disciplined. These 8 principles put you on the right side of those transfers. They help you become the person who benefits when others make mistakes. They help you build the kind of wealth that survives and thrives through any economic environment. Remember, I've been doing this for 50 years. I've seen every kind of crisis, every kind of boom, every kind of bust. I've watched brilliant people destroy themselves and average people build extraordinary wealth. The difference isn't intelligence or luck or connections. The difference is following proven principles even when it's difficult, even when it's boring, even when everyone else is doing something different. That's how you build real wealth. That's how you create lasting success. That's how you avoid the mistakes that destroy financial lives. Start today. Pick one principle and implement it immediately. Then add another, and another. Don't try to do everything at once. Build these habits gradually, consistently, permanently. Because in finance, as in life, Compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe, and it works on principles just as well as it works on money. Your future self will thank you for starting today.